Flynn in Seattle, pronouns are him, wants to talk about social and legal contracts involving bodily autonomy. So welcome, Flynn. You're on with Brady and Matt.
Hi. I remember a while back, or hello to both of you, sorry. I remember a while back, you made a argument / discussion / hypothetical about contracts involving encouraging birthing people to abort effectively if they get pregnant. And I wanted to ask about
Flynn?
something because I'm trying to figure out how
Flynn?
it's legally
Flynn, can you hear me?
questionable / more. Hello? Oh, sorry.
Flynn, you're saying I was arguing in favor of contracts that encouraged pregnant people to abort?
No, sorry, no. It was basically a discussion about how if a male partner has a right to, before having sex, have a legal contract that would either require the woman to abort or get the male partner out of like childcare, that kind of thing. And if there's like a legal / ethical right to that. And you were arguing against that because I also think it's immoral. But I'm trying to figure out how that matches with our current legal opinions on bodily autonomy.
Sure. The pregnant person is going to have bodily autonomy over whether or not they go through a medical procedure to terminate a pregnancy or whether or not they go through the medical procedure to deliver. Nobody else has any say in that. And trying to draw up a legal contract to violate that would still be a violation of that.
Yes, and I agree that the bodily autonomy argument against or for the right to abortion is valid, and honestly the only thing that I think is needed for right to abortion. But I wanted to give a comparison to raising the child after the fact and see how because I think my hypothetical is failing somewhere, but I can't quite figure it out. And I was wondering if that's okay.
I guess so, but I mean, bodily autonomy. Now you're not talking about abortion. You're talking about raising a child afterwards.
But there's a bodily autonomy argument in my afterward.
There is a legal guardianship and stewardship that parents get generally by default, but that courts still have the right to rule over. And you can either get that by default by giving birth and being listed on the birth certificate as the other parent, or by adoption. What are you arguing for?
So can I give a quick hypothetical that I think reflects the current situation and how it would analogize to a legal concept where somehow... Okay, can I just give a hypothetical real quick that I think is very common?
I guess you can give a hypothetical, but if the hypothetical doesn't match the actual, it's not very useful, is it?
Yes, I agree, and I hope to try to see where it doesn't match in this case. So we have...
I don't even know what... I genuinely have no idea what your position is or what case you're making because you've just been talking about it. So let's get to it.
Okay. If there is I'm just going to say woman in this case because I'm going to mess up if I keep saying birthing person. If a woman births a child and agrees to take care of that child, let's say it's a 1-month-old, they might be expected to breastfeed that child, but that isn't required because that would be a violation of bodily autonomy. However, they are required to keep that child alive. So formula or something. And so there's this situation where we cannot force them to violate their own bodily autonomy by forcibly breastfeeding or something like that. However, we can require the woman to take care of the child in another way. And I'm wondering how that differs from a male partner striking up some form of legal contract where it's not the end goal being you have to abort, but the end goal being you have to not present me with any form of child service kind of thing. Where the woman could abort if they wanted to. However, since that would be a violation of bodily autonomy.
Stop, Flynn.
Yeah.
So you're saying you don't understand the difference between someone agreeing to be a parent and then having responsibilities associated with that, and someone trying to get out of being a parent. You don't know the difference between those two things?
I'm wondering if the woman would have a legal ability to agree to that contract.
So,
because, for example, we don't validate like manservant contracts. Like that's not a thing that the law even allows. And
Flynn,
so I'm wondering,
Flynn, if someone is pregnant, they do not necessarily have to let the person who impregnated them be involved with the kid at all. They don't need a contract. They can say, get the fuck out. And then that person needs to sue for partial custody, and a court would have to grant partial custody. You don't need a legal contract. You don't need, I need a legal contract with this person that I've impregnated so that I don't engage. You don't need a contract. You can just say, hey, I want out, and they can say, okay, bye, bitch.
But I'm wondering, because I agree that is the easiest way out if both people do not want the male partner in that situation to be involved. But I don't think I'm getting this across correctly.
I don't think you have a remotely tenable, cogent thought, because everything that you have here is, how can I get out of the responsibility of a pregnancy I'm involved with? You're looking for a way to get out of the responsibility, and you can get out of the responsibility by the other person saying, yeah, I don't want you around. You can get out of the responsibility by suing to abdicate your parental rights and stuff like that, put the kid up for adoption, etc. Those are all options. Why is it that you're so desperate to find a way to allow douchebags to get out of the responsibility for the actions that they've involved themselves with?
I'm not looking for that. I'm trying to figure out, because I'm not seeing the failure in my own logic, and I assume you are, and I'm just not figuring out the failure that you are pointing out. So I think either I'm just consistently missing it.
Stop. Whose bodily autonomy is violated in each of those situations?
The female person.
Yeah. So why is it that one person gets to both people get to violate the pregnant person's bodily autonomy in your model, and you don't see a fallacy or problem here?
I'm not saying that either one gets to violate their bodily autonomy. I don't think you should force the woman to breastfeed for their 1-month-old. And I also don't think that
is
you
irrelevant.
should force the woman to get pregnant.
The breastfeeding thing is irrelevant.
I'm saying it's a bodily autonomy question.
Yes, bodily autonomy means you can't force someone to breastfeed.
And you can't force someone to abort.
Yes, and that has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not somebody can get out of their parental responsibilities.
I agree, and I'm saying that if a woman does not want to breastfeed, which is entirely within their right.
Oh my God, mention breastfeeding one more fucking time, I dare you. Stay on the topic at hand. Stay on the topic at hand. Breastfeeding is fucking irrelevant. What is the goal of what you're trying to do? Because it seems to me that your goal is to get dudes out of responsibility for knocking people up. What if that's not your goal? What is your goal?
I'm trying to figure out what legal setup would allow us to stop that, because I don't think the legal roles that we have right now, or the legal rules that we have right now, should allow you to stop that. I don't want that to be the case, but I think, at least my current understanding is that, given our current legal framework, it would be effective. It should be effectively allowed, but I don't think it should be.
I have no idea what anything you said after I stopped talking means. There was not a cogent thought or sentence in there that clearly, you can't keep referring to everything as this or that or this or that. You need to be fucking specific. It sounds like you're trying to find a way to allow dudes to get out of the responsibility for knocking people up. Is that your goal? If that is not your goal, please tell me what your goal is explicitly.
That is not my goal. My goal is to find a new legal / not moral, because I think it's immoral regardless, new legal right of some sort that would not allow men to get out of that. Because under my current understanding, I think men would be allowed to draft a agreement that if the woman agrees to,
you're wrong.
Would allow
you're
them...
wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not even a fucking lawyer, and I know that you're not. You're absolutely wrong. That's not how contract law works. That's not how law works. Are you a lawyer at all, Flynn?
I am not.
I know you're not. I knew you were not as soon as that sentence came out of your mouth. Instead of you sitting around trying to armchair come up with a new law that would not allow men to get out of that, why don't you go study what the actual fucking law is? Goodbye.
Okay.
Bro, I was so lost that entire time.
I love sitting around thinking about stuff. I love sitting around thinking about stuff. And I love when people sit around thinking about stuff. But if you're sitting here going, I really want to find a new legal foundation that will make it so that dudes can't get out of their responsibility when they knock somebody up. Well, why don't you go look at what the law is instead of calling in and trying a hypothetical about breastfeeding? Because that was a train wreck of confusion start to finish.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought he was trying to say, like, was he saying possibly that based on his current moral framework of not infringing upon somebody's bodily autonomy, that the current laws do that? Is that what he was trying to say? For the male who gets someone pregnant, the laws infringe upon his bodily autonomy by forcing him to give care for the child? Is that what he's...
I don't think so. I thought that was going to be it at one point, but then he went to this, what his goal was of a new legal right of some sort that would not allow men to get out of that because he thinks the current laws allow them to get out of it. Now, we have enough problems with, people being deadbeat dads or pressuring people into abortions or stuff like that. There are limits to what we can legally do. And if somebody wants to just not be a parent, well, okay, they can run, they can hide, they can avoid making payments, they can die, they can do all kinds of things. The issue here is, hey, let's do what we can to make sure we hold people responsible and make sure that they're taking care of their responsibilities. But also, we shouldn't be forcing bad relationships and bad parents to stay, involved. We should be working to help people get out of those situations entirely. But the problem with any path that allows people who can't get pregnant to unduly influence those who can on what happens once they're pregnant, that's a problem. You got some person who gets pregnant who doesn't have the means on their own to deliver and care for that baby. Okay, we've opened up the possibility of adoption. We've done a number of different things to try to ease this burden. But the undeniable fact of biology is the person that has womb and ovaries is the one that's definitely going to be strapped, at least for whatever period they're pregnant. And the one thing we need to remember is that while pregnancy is viewed as trivial by us today in 2024, hey, all our mothers were pregnant. Some of them were pregnant many, many, many times. And we all, everybody went through it. Pregnancy is not as trivial as we think it is.
Mm.
The pregnant person's body fundamentally changes forever after they carry a child to term. The hormones are different. The physiology is different. There are fundamental changes that take place, and there's risk both to the pregnant person and the child through the entire pregnancy and then afterwards. And I don't understand. Don't get me wrong. I have some comprehension of the men's rights advocates who are like, well, I don't think it's fair that the choice is entirely hers. Hey, you know what? I don't think it's fair either, but life's not fair. I didn't create biology. I didn't create the circumstances. I don't think it's fair. You know what would be fair is not that you get to opt out of the pregnancy in the way that she can opt out of the pregnancy. What would be fair is if two people had sex and they said, the only way you could get pregnant is if you said, hey, let's get pregnant. Which one of us is going to be pregnant?
Right.
And even in that circumstance, how do you then, okay, I'll be the pregnant one. And then you're 6 months into pregnancy and everything's going wrong. And you're like, oh, I wish I'd have made the other decision. And then the other person decides to leave you anyway. There are no solutions. Life is complicated and messy.
Yeah.
But if the primary focus is, I don't think it's fair that, why does she get to make the decision? Because she's, it's like having your arm in a bear trap, and there's people standing around saying, do we get out an acetylene torch and cut the bear trap off, or do we cut your arm off? And all these other people are standing here making the decision. I'm pretty sure the person in the trap is the one who gets to make the decision.
Needs to be consulted at least.
And that's why the decision is up to the pregnant person. They're the one in the bear trap. But
yeah.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer for The Line and avid candy eater. Hey, if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so now on Patreon or as a channel member with tiers specific to supporting specific shows and hosts. And it also supports our ability to expand programming going forward. You could also leave a super thanks down below, get a little special highlighted comment, and I'll tell you what, you could hit like and you could hit subscribe. Now, here are some video suggestions so we can fudge that algorithm. Go with one of ours. Forget everyone else on YouTube. I'm begging.